You guys may have seen Joe Rogan talking about it. You may have seen Tom Segura talking about it. But when you do take it, next thing you know, you're like in the middle of a workout and you're kind of bouncing off the walls.
There's so many people on the internet and they've gone too wild with it. Let's say that they start taking way too much, they do grams and grams and grams, and they get addicted and all this wild shit happens. And by the way, substances hit people differently. But that's the thing. It's like with any substance you use, coffee, kratom, weed, anything, you need to make sure you're using it responsibly and it's not becoming something that you now feel that you need.
So it's not going to eliminate pain like a painkiller or a muscle relaxer. Those things don't do anything for your actual pain.
And what are you going to do though? Like, oh shit, kratom got rid of my ankle pain. And the second I'm not drinking it or the effects wore off, I got to drink more. So like, are you really going to be drinking, like 10 kratom shakes a day or whatever?
You just do it every day.
Like, obviously that's not the answer.
Like, you ever just like go to like a buddy's house and you're up all night and you start talking, you start laughing hysterically? Like, to me, that's like a little bit of like a feeling of
you ever just touch your buddy's dick and
you just start stroking it,
y'all just having fun,
and then all this stuff squirts out all over the place.
Exactly.
Fucking
just like
great.
Two dudes just having fun,
just having a great time, measuring each other's taints.
Of course. We have to do that next. Yeah, nothing weird about it.
Kratom it's in a category of opioids, so it's important to know like it can be really powerful.
First off, if you ever have the thought of like, I wish I could be like this all the time, now don't use that thought as an excuse to start doing this all the time.
I haven't noticed a huge difference off of taking a lot of it other than just being like kind of high and loopy. And I'm like, that's like, I don't need to be sent off into outer space.
Yeah. Have you ever tried pouring down your ass? Like maybe grab a spigot and pour some potion down your ass? Yeah.
And then drink it?
No, literally just butt chug it. Like, you know how people do that?
Beer.
Of my own butt? Like,
like
pour it and...
Here, put a spigot, then pour a potion down there.
I could figure that out.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now I want to talk to you guys about Within You supplements. This is Mark's supplement line. And the amazing thing is Mark used to be 330 pounds. He was a fat guy. So obviously this stuff tastes really damn good. But another cool thing about Within You supplements is that none of these products are white labeled. Now what a lot of people do when they come out with their own supplement lines is they do something called white labeling. And white labeling, all that means is there's a supplement that's already out there. They take off the tag of that supplement, they put their name on it, and now it's their supplement line. Quite literally, there's nothing else like Within You supplements out there because Mark formulated these supplements with other individuals that he knows within the industry, like Joel Green, who we've had on this podcast. So you guys should check out Within You. We have amazing whey protein, electrolyte supplements, we have fasting gum, and many other things on the website. Andrew, how can they check it out?
Yes, that's over at markbellslingshot.com. And at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Are we rolling already?
Yeah, we're rolling now. I hit record and then I asked that question, but we can officially get rolling.
When did you hit record?
I hit record 1 minute and 10 seconds ago now.
Yeah.
So
and just like I've been recording since we entered the building today.
Pretty much.
The funny thing is that you don't see bodybuilding and powerlifting correlating with each other much anymore. That's not a thing. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, it used to though, huh?
It used to.
Yeah.
And everyone used to shit on
too, right?
CrossFit.
Yeah. Sorry, I took the words
No,
out.
you're right.
Yeah.
Everyone used to shit on CrossFit, but now, no, you cannot shit on CrossFit. You can try, but then try to outwork a CrossFitter. Like a real CrossFitter, bro.
Yeah, so like why though? What's the reason? The reason is because it appears like it's worked. It's gotten really good results, right?
Yeah.
And I think
for the people that stay safe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for the people that fucking make it through. And that's one conjecture that coaches have. It's like, well, if I just fucking kill everybody with programming and have a handful of genetic mutants, have some mutants that can handle it. I mean, the Bulgarians did the same thing. They trained 3 times a day, and they put as many people into Olympic lifting as they could find that were looked like they were suited for that.
That's what the Chinese do too.
Yeah, they shove them into it. And then they're like, look how good our system is. And you're like, I don't know if it's the system or if it's just the fact that the people that survived are so skilled and probably pretty talented and genetically awesome anyway.
That was Darwin, right?
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest. Like that. Hey, this Chong Xie guy, I think I told you guys, he told me that the Chinese weightlifters or the Chinese, how they pick who's going to make it to like the Olympics.
This is just an excuse.
They poke the butts of young children to see what has more buoyancy, to tell like this is good fascia versus this isn't good fascia. I mean, I don't think Andrew.
Hey,
No, I'm just joking, but that's
I don't put
could be
it,
partially right.
I think Paul Saladino, he's checking out Taints, right, to see if these diets are working, right? So I saw Lane made a video on it, and I didn't watch it, but I loved watching the faces that Lane kept making, because he's talking about like saving the children's taints or something like that.
and Lane will like, he'll get pretty like animated and stuff, but like he literally lost it. Like he started laughing really hard and he like had to cut it or whatever, but like he was just like, who the fuck is measuring these taints? And I'm like, it's funny, Mark just asked the same thing today. Like
Seriously. But yeah, actually, they can't just be measuring kids' taints though. That can't, no. It has to be another method.
I don't know
what is the methodology? How are we doing this? How are we getting these measurements?
What are we squaring and what are we fucking rounding up?
Yeah, when my son was born, there was no measuring tape on anything down there. So I'm like, like I don't know where they get the taint.
Imagine that
taint measurements.
You'd be like, what the fuck are you doing with my kid?
This sounds like who's that conspiracy theorist?
Andrew Zaragoza.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he's the Alex Jones.
Oh yeah.
They're measuring the kids' taints.
I have the documents.
I have the documents.
They're trying to cover it up. It's a big conspiracy.
Oh God.
Somebody's measuring it.
Right? Has to be.
They
Now
have
I'm
to
curious about the measurement of my taint. Like I really want to know, how do I score up against people as far as taints are concerned?
I think it's also like it's a way to tell mammals, right? Like apart, like in comparison to the females, right? Like as a female has a shorter taint, so
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
problematic
that's
that
right.
our
Yeah,
taints
yeah.
are shriveling up. I think the idea here is that we're going to end up with like this vortex, like, and then we're going to end up like our taint will shrivel up so much that our balls and our dick will turn into a vagina. I think that's what's happening.
If we're lucky.
Oh man.
Oh, could you work
It's
out
supposed to be all the same kind of material, from what I've heard.
Could you work out your taint fascia?
Oh.
That way you can unlock it.
I mean, hey, doing squats and doing some pelvic
can't-
floor work.
So you can't do it alone, Andrew.
Okay.
And that's why Nsima and I are here today.
I appreciate it, guys.
We're always right here alongside you, behind you, supportive.
Inside you.
And yeah, whatever way we can be.
As we continue on with the podcast, though, I have a true legitimate question, because I'm 29 and I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention, but I hear that as one gets older, the balls continue to just like.
Oh.
Is that happened to you guys? I mean, you're in different stages, but is that something that continues?
Well, because I use TRT, like it does, my balls just like, they're not perpetually growing.
Are they just
That
like
makes
peas?
sense.
Just like
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not like gigantic.
no? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't noticed
Oh yeah, y'all both.
anything.
Y'all both.
Yeah. So
Okay.
no, even before like test or anything, like it was, I think, fairly normal.
I was wondering if it's like ear hair that just perpetually
It was
continues
bad,
to
though,
grow.
So
like,
ear hair, now that's another thing. Dude, I have spiders growing out of my ears. Like,
Okay.
it's fucking crazy. In my nose too. That's just, just wait till you like wake up one day and you're just like, God damn, dude, I got something. And then you can actually like go up and like get it with your fingers and be like, look, check this out. I got nose hair.
I
Like,
pray that doesn't happen to me. That happened
and
to
then
my
they turn
uncle.
gray. Mine turn gray. It's fucked up.
I know it could be problematic on a hot day. Your balls getting real big, getting all big and saggy, and like you go to step up into like a truck, and then you like sit on your nuts. Like it's one of those like bouncy ball things, like when you're a kid with a little red. It's like you're fucking bouncing around on your own balls.
Yeah, when it gets hot,
man.
they just turn into silly putty. And they're just like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, you just juggle them. You know. You ever- or you can use a little Balkoozie.
Oh yeah,
Right?
a little
Freshen them
jacuzzi
up.
thing.
Yeah.
Still, are those still on Amazon? The Balkoozis? Because
Oh,
I
yeah,
do need to
should be.
purchase
I think
one.
so.
I'm going to purchase one right now.
Put your nuts in there.
Yeah, yeah. That'd
Your
be
girl
great
comes
after a
home
cold
and you're
plunge.
just like chilling with your nuts.
That'd be a really nice way to chill, just on the couch, splayed out,
Yeah.
and your nuts in a Balkoozie.
Ball koozie.
That's a great invention.
Dude, what was your girlfriend doing yesterday with that dog? That was so weird. She's like walking around with your dog like she's holding it like a baby.
She didn't want it to piss in your gym.
Oh,
That's how she was holding it, mix it
so
up.
funny.
Yeah.
A husky
man.
would too. They'd be like, oh, this is a nice place. Let me fuck it up.
That's what happened when I brought Ash. He saw the chalk bowl in the gym, and then he pissed on the chalk bowl.
Fucking husky.
Marking
So-
his territory.
We've learned not to do that
Like,
again.
I'm gonna need this chalk. Should try an ammonia cap on one of those guys. See what they think.
Kill the dog.
Oh Yeah.
They take too much of a sniff, bro.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they got hyper smelliness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you got capsules over there?
I have capsules, yeah.
I'm gonna do a little.
Well, that's, I mean, like to hit you now and later.
I took a sip. Yeah, I want to hit. Toss me the capsules.
We're gonna be talking about
This is
some
glass, dude.
We're gonna be talking
I'll
about
catch
some.
it. I have good hands.
don't know
I have
if
good
could-
hands.
This is heavy, so let
We're
me.
gonna be talking about some mind bullet today.
Here you go. Oh.
Yep. Bro, come on now.
Okay.
Athletes.
I thought for sure that was gonna hit him in the nuts. Whenever my wife like throws something to me, it always hits me in the nuts.
I think because she throws it at you.
I know. It's like, what the fuck? Anyway, we're gonna be talking about some mind bullet today. We're gonna talk about some Kratom. I know people have a lot of questions about it all the time, and I was actually talking to a friend of mine that knows quite a bit about it. We'll have this guy on the podcast. His name is Alex. He is part of a company called Etha, and they make our new tablets that we have that Andrew tried to eat.
Yeah.
Which is pretty obvious, like when you put those things on your tongue, that they're not edible.
I was kind of on the run, but when I
It's like eating grass and dirt at the same time.
if grass and dirt were really, really gross,
Yeah.
I cracked it open and I'm like, oh shit, it looks like I don't know, like chewable vitamins or whatever. I don't know, chewable something. And I'm just like, oh, sick. And I took like literally like the first bite and I'm like, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And so I had to try to wash it down, but it was way too late. So yeah,
Just put on the packaging, not chewable.
and so the other part of it was like, I had to go tell April like, hey, I'm an idiot. So be careful. There's more people like me, you know, and more people might try to chew on these like my dumbass did. And she's just like, why would you do that? But Callie was like, yeah, they do kind of look chewable. And I'm like, see, it's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So we're R&Ding stuff.
Well, Kratom does not taste good.
Nope.
There's it's kind of a hard thing to figure out how to make taste good. It just has like a very earthy, like dirt flavor to it. That's pretty strong. So some people take it in powder forms and things like that. And I think where a lot of the negativity has come on the internet, I think has come from a lot of people taking powders. I've seen videos, especially from years ago, where people would blend up these like shakes where they would have Kratom in them, but they would use like grams and grams. They would use like a scooper, like a protein scooper. And they'd be like, yep, about 3 of these, and they'd dump it in there.
Gosh.
And from some of the stuff I've seen, people would take 10, 20 grams of it. It would be really, really rare for me to have it would be really rare for me to go above 5 grams in a particular day. So there's people that are, scooping out like 4 times that amount and doing it every day.
How many grams is this?
This guy, I think, is 3.
3 grams?
Yeah, this guy here, the Mind Bullet extract that we have, the potion.
Do you guys put any type of, so is there any type of flavor in here, or is this just somewhat extracted?
It's an extract, and it has a little bit of oil in it, just to kind of make it a liquid thing to kind of get down. But it's gross.
It is gross, but it's not gross where it's like you take it and you're like, it's like Pepto-Bismol.
Right.
He doesn't explain how much he's putting in here, whoever this guy is. Sorry, I can't credit you, but I just want to show how much honey he puts inside this cup.
Kratom tastes good.
Just turns it upside down.
Let's just add 60 grams of carbs to our Kratom.
But then, I mean, just for people to see, like, this is after he makes it. It's like, look how unsatisfying that looks. That looks gross.
I would not take the time out of my day to do that shit.
No.
He's turning it into like a tea and everything. Anyway, I've been using Kratom for years. I'm a huge fan of it, obviously. And then we sell it under the brand name Mind Bullet. And we have Mind Bullet capsules. Now we have tablets. And we also have the Mind Bullet potion. And you guys may have seen Joe Rogan talking about it. You may have seen Tom Segura talking about it. And they joke about it a lot, which makes it kind of fun. And, one guy I think is like, it's kind of like taking crack or cocaine or, I don't know, where those references are like from or if they're based off of experience. But I think what they're referring to is the fact that when you take Kratom, you might not really feel like doing a whole lot at a certain time, or you may not feel super motivated. But when you do take it, Next thing you know, you're like in the middle of a workout and you're kind of bouncing off the walls.
Yeah.
And you're training really hard and you're doing a lot of stuff. It can make you super talkative. You start talking a lot. You start talking a little faster. It can give you some cotton mouth like some other drugs can do.
Not like cocaine speed though. Like,
yeah, I don't have any experience with cocaine, so I don't know anything about like what that would even.
No, I think when people say like we joke around when something's really, really good, it's like, dude, this stuff is like crack. We don't really mean that it's going to ruin your life. We just mean it's very like good and it could be addicting. But yeah, it has, as far as like the same, it's not even close to like actually Coke. Like it's nowhere near that. No.
My guy knows.
Yeah, no, it's a totally different feeling. It's like a safe, warm feeling, not a fucking.
It's a safe, warm feeling. Yeah.
When it comes to an addiction, that's a hard thing to really figure out, hard thing to talk about and to be super honest about. I don't feel like I'm addicted to it, but I like it so much that I do it often. So maybe I am addicted to it. Maybe I'm as addicted to it. Maybe I'm more addicted to it than caffeine or coffee. So if you're a person that like doesn't want to be addicted to anything ever, then maybe it's not for you. Then that's fine. But for me, I found it to be really useful, and I found it to be, a powerful weapon in the different things that I do. Now, I want to point out that like to mitigate negative stressors in my life, I mean, one thing I've worked on a lot is just interpretation. That's helped probably the most, first and foremost. Not thinking that a death in the family is always a negative. Condolences to you and your family on your grandmother.
Thank you.
You know, and reframing like a lot of stuff. That's been really useful. Lifting has been really useful for like negative stress mitigation. Running, like all these, I got all these different tools, right? However, sometimes it's nice to have a tool that just kind of jumps you ahead, like caffeine, like coffee, like a pre-workout, like a Monster energy drink. Some of these things, some of these kind of artificial external things from the outside can then pull me into a different frame of mind, and it can push me into a realm that I otherwise probably wouldn't be able to get into for that particular day or for that particular moment. Mushrooms do the same thing. LSD does the same thing. All these things kind of do the same thing for me, and I try to utilize them as a tool, but I try to utilize them as a tool appropriately, and appropriately for me means that I'm already in a good frame of mind. I'm already motivated. Yeah. I don't really need the cup of coffee to like go on my morning walk, or I don't need the cup of coffee to go run 5 miles. I was well rested. I slept. I ate well the night before, followed most of the things that I like to follow. The next morning, I feel good. I wake up, I go outside, I do some push-ups, I see some sunlight. I wait around for a while. Morning poop hits me, and then I have my coffee.
Oh, and you have your poop before your coffee?
I already, sometimes.
Nice.
I'm already like up. I'm already awake. I don't really, quote unquote, need the coffee, but it's a habit. It might be something, again, I could be addicted to it.
You're addicted, and so am I.
I'm addicted to it. I feel like it helps enhance my life.
Yeah.
But I'm already, like I said, I'm already well rested. I'm not utilizing the coffee to try to force myself to be untired. It's just a little spark. Once I have the coffee, now I'm like kind of like, fuck yeah. Like as soon as I'm in my car on my way to go do my walk or run, I'm just a little bit more fired up. I'm thinking a little bit more clearly. I'm listening to a podcast. I'm learning, or I'm walking with my brother or walking with my dad. So yeah, these are the ways I like to utilize these things. And there's not a reason. I might wake up in the morning, my body might be kind of tight. I might feel kind of stiff, but I'm not going to reach for Kratom first thing in the morning. I'm going to let my body wake up. And I might take a shower. I might go outside and exercise for a few minutes. I might come in here and exercise.
Cold plunge.
I might do a walk. I might do a cold plunge. I got all these other resources. So I'm not like, let me hit up a bunch of Kratom and just be ready to kill the day. I try a lot of different methods. I try a lot of different techniques. And sometimes when we get done with a podcast and I'm like, man, I'd just rather go the fuck home than to go run. I'd rather go home than to lift. I'm like, you know what? Let me just go in the gym. I'm going to take a little bit of Kratom. I'm going to go in the gym. I'm just going to do a couple sets. Next thing you know, I do a full workout and then I go for a fucking run. That's how I like to utilize it.
Yeah. You don't want this shit to turn into Popeye spinach, bro. Like he's getting his ass beat. He's like, let me get some spinach. And then he just fucking blows up, right? And it's funny that you said the coffee thing because, I mean, we're all somewhat addicted to caffeine. Let's be real. It's I think it's the one substance in the United States and probably all over the world that like everybody's addicted to, but we're all okay with.
Yeah, tea as well.
Tea,
it's real popular worldwide.
Absolutely. But, you know, if you're not getting enough rest, a lot of people will use caffeine to be the thing that wakes them up, even though they're not well rested. It's like, do these habits that we talk about all the time, getting good sleep, working out, all that type of shit, so that you feel good already and that everything else just adds on to that. Because it's the same thing with pre-workout, right? Pre-workout is something that a lot of people will use, and then they'll start to become dependent on the pre-workout to actually have good workouts. So there were times when I was younger, in my early 20s, and I'd go to 24-hour fitness and I'd park, I'd be like, where's my C4? And I'd just be like, fuck. And then I go in and I don't have as good of a workout because I'm in my head that I needed this C4. That's why I stopped taking pre-workout, because I didn't want to have to rely on a substance to actually feel good for whatever I'm about to do. And I look at Kratom in the same way. It's like that's why I'm also happy with the way that we've talked about Mind Bullet and Kratom, because there's so many people on the internet and they've gone too wild with it. Let's say that they start taking way too much, they do grams and grams and grams, and they get addicted, and all this wild shit happens. And by the way, substances hit people differently. I know people that one of my homies, Brian, he doesn't drink coffee because he'll have the smallest cup of coffee, and he's like, I'm wired. He legit can't sleep, and he just feels too wired. So he's just a guy who's like, coffee's not for me. We can also understand that there are some substances that aren't for everybody. Some people can take Kratom and it's just like, nope, not for me. Some people can, and it's great. I like it because like I've tested myself, right? Because I usually use it before podcasts just because it puts me in a better mood. But there have been times where we haven't podcasted at all, and then I just don't take it for days. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm fucking itching. I'm not fucking, scratching, trying to get some Kratom. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I can use it responsibly. But that's the thing. It's like with any substance you use, coffee, Kratom, weed, anything, you need to make sure you're using it responsibly and it's not becoming something that you now feel that you need before you do something. Can you go without it for a little bit and still feel okay? All right, cool. Then you add it and it just makes things a little bit better. You got to be responsible with this shit.
Alcohol is pretty like common, right? That people use
fuck with alcohol anymore. Nope.
People they joke a lot about alcohol. And alcohol, I mean, I don't want to like, pretend I'm getting on some like higher, soapbox here, but alcohol does kill a lot of people. You know what I mean? It's responsible for a lot of deaths. It's responsible for a lot of destruction. But for some reason, that's a more acceptable thing that people utilize in our society. And so I don't really have a problem with hardly any drugs. I mean, I think that's kind of how we got here in the first place with a movie like Bigger, Stronger, Faster. I think some drugs can be used to enhance your life, whether we're, again, talking about caffeine. I put them all in the same category. Now, there's different kinds of drugs that can do different things to you. There's different things for you, and there are things that can be really addicting. And I do think that you have to be cautious towards those things because you might get in too deep, and it might be hard to get out of that. For me personally, I've never noticed that with Kratom. I would actually go as far as to say that I'm more addicted to caffeine than I am to Kratom. When I don't have Kratom, I'm not like down. Like if I don't have caffeine some days, when we did like a month off of it and stuff like that, it's just different. The day is different. And I even had headaches from not having caffeine before. And I've never noticed that from Kratom. Now, is it possible for someone else to get actually addicted to it? I think probably.
Yeah.
As you said, many people have different reactions to it. But I think if you're going to get addicted to anything, you're going to get addicted to the fact that Kratom makes you feel fucking awesome. And that's a feeling that is really easy to get addicted to.
That's why we always make the joke that I'll never do Coke. Because I know people who've done quite a bit of Coke. I know people that take bumps before, they got to hit their day. And you feel like Superman. That's dangerous, right? Kratom doesn't make me feel like Superman. Like the way it makes me feel is it makes me feel very empathetic. It makes me feel like if I'm having conversation, I feel really good. I feel like I'm in tune with that person's emotions, etc. Like I feel very just warm and cozy. I want to call somebody that's close to me and make sure I tell them I love them. That's how it makes me feel. Don't get high. The one day that we did 2 potions on air though,
oh man,
I was fucking gone. Never do 2 potions, guys. And even so there are a lot of people that have been getting their hands on the Mind Bullet potion. You said this is about 3 grams?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My first suggestion, actually, Andrew, would you like to walk people through how they should probably come across the Mind Bullet potion?
Well, I mean, because I had a pretty bad reaction from it. But yeah, no, I would say, I mean,
also, you were sensitive to the amount of it.
I am sensitive to it. So, like, honestly, for me, I would just say, like, try the capsules before you even try the potions. But if you already have the potion, I don't know, it's a very small vial, and you're going to be like this little tiny thing, and you're going to, when I say try taking a quarter of it to see how you feel, you're going to be like, this isn't going to do shit. It's like, well, we don't know what it's going to do to you. You don't know what it's going to do to you.
Yeah.
And just like, well, not just like, but similar to an edible, when you already had too much, you kind of can't do anything about it. You just got to ride that wave.
That's kind of an edible. It's not near.
No.
Well, I mean,
but what I'm saying is like, so for me, like when I took an entire one, I started getting sick, and there's nothing you can't go back. Right. So like my stomach started hurting. I ended up throwing up. And then after that, I felt better. But like the whole time leading up to that, I was just like, dude, what's going on here? Like, I don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Started like feeling like real clammy and like pale, like just like, ugh, like this isn't good. And so now it's like, I only take the capsules, but I've never, it didn't have a reaction to where I was just like, oh, it's dangerous. It's like, no, I took way too much for myself.
Yeah.
And the capsules, I'll take like 2 to 3, I don't know, like maybe twice a week. Mm-hmm. Although I haven't taken it in, I don't know, like a week or so.
Yeah.
I love the way like I get work done on it. I don't necessarily feel anything, but what I do notice is that like I'm less distracted. I'm a little bit more zoned in.
Focus better.
Yeah. I got that like tunnel vision where I'm in the zone, and it's usually a lot harder for me to get into that zone without it. But that doesn't mean I have to have it, because when I'm at home, I don't have it around me. Actually, you know, that's a lie. I do have some, but it's just not like how this one right here, you know, like right in front of me. Mm-hmm. So like I just don't take it at home, not for any like moral purposes or any reasons or anything like that. I just don't happen to have it at home.
Yeah. Have you ever used it for pain?
I did, because when I was first learning about it, and then I'd ask you about it, you're like, yeah, it should definitely give you some pain relief, but I've never felt any pain relief from it.
Did you ever blast a bunch of it just to see?
No. So the most I have ever done was the one capsule of potion from Mind Bullet, and then I've taken 8 capsules, not at the same time, separate times. The potion was it hit me very hard.
Yeah.
The capsules felt similar to when I would take 4. Like it didn't feel like it was like multiplied. You know, it just felt like it was more of this, not even more of the same. It was just felt the exact same as taking less. So I never taken any more than 3 at this point now. But for my back pain, I didn't feel it, but it did put me in a good mood. So maybe for that time, I didn't feel it as much. So maybe I guess it did help. But I would say for me, no, I've never felt any benefits from back pain.
I've used it here and there for pain. And my dad, when we were in New Jersey, he was like a little banged up. I don't know, just every once in a while his hip will bug him. And so we're like, hey, take some Kratom. He's like, it doesn't usually. He's like, I don't know. I don't really feel much of it, you know. So we gave him a pretty good dosage of it.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, he was keeping right up with us on our walk. And
yeah.
I've had a lot of effects like that. One thing I would say is like, it's temporary. You know, like if you have pain, like your pain is coming from somewhere. So it's not going to eliminate pain like a painkiller or a muscle relaxer. Those things don't do anything for your actual pain. They just get you high is what they do. They put you into a different thing. And Kratom might do the same thing. You could kind of argue that it does something similar. But it's not actually like getting you out of pain. It's only getting you out of pain for that moment. So keep that in mind. Like if your ankle hurts and you want to run for the day and you take some Kratom and you go run, well, the next day your ankle might hurt even worse.
Yeah.
So understand there's a risk to reward ratio on all this stuff.
And what are you gonna do though? Like oh shit, Kratom got rid of my ankle pain, and the second I'm not drinking it or the effects wore off, I got to drink more. So like, are you really going to be drinking, like 10 Kratom shakes a day or whatever?
You just do it every day.
Like, obviously that's not the answer.
To mask it.
Yeah.
My boy's uncle, he's had back pain for years, and from his shit is more like he was getting older. He didn't really exercise much. It wasn't in his habit to exercise, so he started having some really bad back pain. So I did end up giving him a bottle of this, and he was like doing 4 or 5 a day. And he's like, yeah, when I use it, I don't pay attention to my pain nearly as much. I can get around and do things. And I think that's where a benefit can be with people in pain, because if you're in so much pain that it's debilitating to just get up and do the shit you need to do to potentially help you get out of pain, which is probably doing some type of exercise or getting active or getting moving, that's going to be the thing that gets you out of pain. And pain is stopping you from even doing that. This can be a real good benefit. I'm not saying everybody, but I know I gave it to him, and he was just like, I kind of need to get more of this because like it's helping a lot with my pain. He ended up getting surgery later, and he's not in as much pain now. He still uses it, but that's the thing. It helped him to get the momentum going,
Right.
so he could start doing some shit. Because some people, they're just sitting around because they're in pain, and that sucks.
I remember you mentioning like ibuprofen, like it got you through some soccer workouts and things like that back in the day.
That was bad, man.
And maybe it wasn't a great idea to do that. But it did keep you active to be able to be in the starting lineup, right? Like it allowed you to continue to play. So I think sometimes some of these things, it could just like bridge the gap, but you'll still have to fix whatever the actual problem is.
Absolutely.
I've heard some people say they've taken it for things like anxiety. Again, it's not going to rid you of anxiety. You're not going to take it and have this like, it doesn't work the way a psychedelic might work. A psychedelic might take you into an experience that may crush your depression. It may crush your anxiety. You may have such an experience there that you learn something to where you're like, yeah, man, I probably do need to chill the fuck out. That was actually really interesting. Those mushrooms showed me something really dope. That's how people are utilizing some of those plant medicines. But Kratom doesn't do that for you. Kratom might put those things on the back burner for a moment, but you're still going to have to do the work to rid yourself of the anxiety or to fix your ankle pain or to fix your back pain or whatever the thing is that's really bothering you.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now, we love these fucking legendary tasty pastries, and
Love
you already
them.
know how good they are, but I want a hot tip for you. I want to give you a hot tip. Number 1,
Hot heat.
when you eat these things, 20 grams of protein, 5 grams of net carbs, put it in the microwave for 15 seconds. All right, we talked about how it can fit any single diet because it's high protein, very low carb. But if you put it in the microwave for 15 seconds, my fucking God, it will melt in your mouth. I highly suggest you could do this with any flavor, but if you can get your hands on the hot fudge sundae, oh, baby, Andrew, you're the one who put me on this shit, man.
Yes, seriously, you guys have to try this, but please do not microwave it for more than 15 seconds because the inside turns nuclear. But to me, this tastes like an old school chocolate donut for some reason. When you microwave it, it completely changes the flavor and it changes it for the better. But you guys got to head over to eatlegendary.com and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 20% off your entire order. Again, that's at eatlegendary.com. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Let's get back to this podcast.
I got a question for you guys. Number 1 is what do you guys consider like being high? And also what like because people are like, does it make you high? And I think, I mean, I've never smoked marijuana, so that's kind of the first thing people think about.
You got to experience that,
when they think about being high, right? But I kind of consider all kinds of stuff being high. I mean, there's like a runner's high, right? There's a high from a workout. There's a high, like, I don't know if you guys ever had this happen. I think you have because you drank 1 beer and you get naked. But like, you ever just like go to like a buddy's house and you're up all night and you start talking, you start laughing hysterically? Like, to me, that's like a little bit of like a feeling of
you ever just touch your buddy's dick? And
you just start stroking it. You start stroking.
Y'all just having fun.
Like, hey! And then all the stuff squirts out all over the place.
Exactly.
Fucking
just like
great.
2 dudes just having fun.
Just having a great time. Measuring each other's taints.
Of course. We have to do that next.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing weird about it.
That shit happens, right? But I think, you can kind of put being high in like all kinds of different categories, but maybe other people categorize it differently. I think alcohol kind of feels that way. I know alcohol is more of like a downer, but even like caffeine sometimes hits me and I'm like, whoa, like that really sent me to the fucking moon. So what do you guys think like being high is?
What do you think,
man,
buddy?
that's hard because when I had a thought, but then when you were talking about like a runner's high or like the high you get when you haven't seen like a relative in a really long time, you're just like, oh shit, and you can't stop yelling at each other,
and you're
trying to catch up. Yes,
like you can't stop smiling at all.
Yeah, so like that's a little bit different than where my head was going, because now I'm thinking like I feel high after I get out of the cold plunge. Like I'm in such a much better mood.
We were high from the breath work.
And yes, and that video just got posted on the STO6 channel. Go watch that shit.
And that's like a literal thing, right? Don't people believe that you get high from that oxygen CO2 exchange, right?
Yeah, I was pretty high this morning then, because like I did it and I was seeing multiple colors, and it was fun. Like it was it was literally a trip.
Drug addict, bro.
Yeah. Well, I don't do it that often because it's kind of hard in the house. But on the days where I don't go to the gym early, I will get breath work in and for sure cold plunge in. The cold plunge was cold today. But anyway, what I was saying, it was I was thinking that like when you smoke weed or even when you drink, when it kind of changes your personality, then that's when you're like too high. You know, when your decision making is impaired, or like I don't know, the person you're with is just like confused at the things you're saying and the actions that you're taking. So that's kind of where I was going with it initially in my head. And then when you talked about different types of high, it kind of crushed that, because, you know, when I get high out of doing breath work, I do feel good. I feel different, and I am more grateful and appreciative, but that doesn't change like my personality or anything. So there's, I would just say that there's different types of high then.
Maybe while Nsima shares with us what his definition of it is, maybe you can look it up too, and we can kind of try to figure out what we can find.
Yeah, it's really interesting, man, because like, for example, weed, which I don't use a crazy amount of, but when I smoke weed, it doesn't necessarily change who I am, but it changes like how I guess it does change who I am a little bit, because I become way more open, as in, you know, conversation with my girlfriend or whatever. I just become way more open. But the one thing I do notice, and when I smoke weed, I'm a lightweight with everything. So with weed, it's just a little bit, but it hits. What I notice is that, like, if I were to go to jujitsu, which I've done before, I have to pay a little bit more attention to my breathing until I really get into it. Then I can, like, I'm loose and then I can flow. Some people perpetually roll high when they do jujitsu. That's a big thing within the jujitsu community, rolling high. They actually have a tournament that's like high rollers or something, where like, yeah, all the competitors are actually pretty fucking high.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Like they test people like, you're not high enough, bro. So
yeah, no, it's like everyone's high at that tournament. But I've done workouts while high before, but it's like, you got to be careful when doing that, because it really, physically, I don't feel as I could get into a flow state. Let's put it that way. Now, the funny thing is, like with Kratom, when sometimes I can get into a flow state with jujitsu, because it's something where it's second nature. A lot of that stuff is second nature. I don't need to think. So once I start rolling, once I'm just loose and I'm not thinking, bam, I'm in. Now, what I used to do often is I used to use a little bit of Kratom before, because I noticed that I can get into that state just a lot quicker. And there was a point where I was like, oh, okay, well, now I'm starting to use it too much before doing jujitsu. I need to start not using it as much so I can still get into that state without it. But I have used it before tournaments too, as just like to help me kind of get into that state, because I feel in full control. My breathing's in control. It doesn't get me high to a place where like I don't feel like I have control over my bodily functions. Everything actually just feels enhanced. And that is a dangerous place to be, because it feels too good, right? So yeah, no, I don't feel high in that sense with Kratom, but I do feel better. Now, psilocybin's different, because I would compare Kratom in terms of the feeling versus weed and psilocybin. Low doses of psilocybin, I kind of feel kind of similar in terms of just the way I feel, in terms of like happy, grateful,
floating
empathetic, floating a bit. Like Kratom and low dose psilocybin for me are somewhat similar. It's not the same exact feeling, but what I end up doing and feeling and getting out of it is somewhat similar. Weed is not the same. Weed is not the same as those two things. And I can, when I smoke, like that's me is like high. Like I said, low dose psilocybin though. High dose psilocybin, fuck, that shit's a different thing. So
What about THC? Is THC?
it's weed.
It's
in marijuana.
Yeah. So I've had a little bit of that before, and that's been interesting. I remember one day I just like passed out on my couch, and I like woke up and my neck was all like I was just in like this weird position that like my body, like you know when your son falls asleep and his like neck looks broken, you're like, dude, like is he okay? You want to wake him up? You know. I was sleeping like that, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
Yeah.
And then I started to kind of move, and the room was weird, and my wife was talking, and everything was funny to me. And I'm like, I need to get out of here because everyone's going to know what's up. They're going to know I'm high.
That's what I mean. Like, you know, you would not normally just be giggling when your wife's trying to have like not a serious, but she's just talking normal, and you're just like, you're hilarious. Like, wait, no, you're like, this is just you. But the best definition I could find was on actually Urban Dictionary. And it's being high, your body becomes physically more aware. It feels everything in altitude. Your mind is apart from your physical aspect, and you lose yourself. You cannot control your mind from its never-ending thoughts. Both these events take place and makes your world that much different. You are high. So everything else is kind of like weird. It wouldn't give me any.
I like that. You can't control your never-ending thoughts. I think that a lot of times we think that we're in control of those, and probably when you're high, you're like, just let them come.
The funny thing
Let
is,
it happen.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I can't wait for you to smoke because when, at least this is I feel like maybe people get different things from weed, but like when I smoke, it's like the never ending thoughts you have, it's turned up and it's like, whoa, like really never ending. And you're just cool with it. You know what I mean? And that's why for me, the creativity thing comes in, because if I then focus on something that I'm trying to be creative with, my never-ending thoughts, like it'll spiral into, oh, this is cool, this is different, this is right. That's why it's really good for me with creativity, and that, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Would you say your never-ending thoughts when you're not high maybe can spiral? You're not a negative person at all, but like, can they spiral more negative when you're like, if you're high, they're probably more positive, right? They're probably more no. When I'm not high, my typically not really that negative. Like I'll have negative thoughts, but it doesn't like affect me. Like when I am high, that shit could spiral in the very, get like a little anxiety.
It could definitely head there, and then you just direct yourself out of it. But it absolutely trends there often when I smoke. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not always a bad thing.
But it's probably a good thing, because then you're kind of I don't know, just aware, and then you'll jog yourself through that, right? You'll work yourself through that process. I've heard Rogan talking about how his drugs of choice are ones that freak him the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's what he likes. He likes being put in like a compromised position. Like, man, I blasted a lot of fucking mushrooms, man, and I don't know what the fuck to think of anything anymore. And that's pretty amazing for a guy that, you know, whatever, made $300 million or whatever, right? To really question like what he's doing, why he's here, all that shit, right? Just take his ego and just fucking throw it on the ground and just roll it out there for everybody to see, right?
Yeah. It makes, I mean, honestly, like it makes, there are aspects where you'll start thinking of things that you haven't thought of before. Like, for example, my grandma, right? There was a few weeks ago where I was just like, you know, I did get a little high, and I was like, damn, you know, she's getting there. You're not seeing her as much as you need to be right now. You're not trying to talk to her as much as you need to. You may be saying you're busy with work, but you need to go fucking talk to your grandma, because she won't be here much longer. So I did. And I started actually doing that more. And I'm very thankful that happened. But my thoughts, and when I'm just chilling, I'm usually have a focus. Like, this is my routine. This is the way my day goes. These are the things I have to get done. Very, very structured. And although that's a good thing, there has to be something you can do. And you don't need drugs for this, but something has to sometimes get you out of that structure, so you can start thinking in different ways and different patterns to deal with things that you probably should deal with.
It's really tough to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and we sometimes don't think that we have time for that kind of thing.
Yeah. But
if you're like, I wonder what would it be like to be my significant other and to have to deal with me leaving my socks on the ground, or me like thinking about but like if you're taken into like a heightened state, if you're high, it's easier to probably be honest with that stuff. Whereas if you're not high, you're like, I'm a badass motherfucker. I do some pretty cool shit. So she'll just have to deal with it.
Man.
And like it.
And like it.
That's right.
But guys, I think number one, there's an aspect of all of this when we use kratom and when we use substances, we're very self-aware. With any substance, and this is something that happens with alcohol and alcoholism, right? People start drinking a little bit. This shit does taste horrible, right? But you drink it because the way it makes you feel. And because of that, you just go down this spiral and it ends up becoming something that could be really bad for you because you're not paying attention to what's happening to you, right? We're all very self-aware about how we use these different substances. Substances that some people would be like, oh, that's dangerous, that's horrible. We're not using it perpetually all the time, right? We're not becoming addicted. But when you hear some of these horror stories about kratom, alcohol, blah, 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 there has to be some onus on the user. Like, were you using this responsibly? This shit isn't just stuff that you down every day and not think about with intention. Some people just like smoke weed and go party. That's their habit. Drink alcohol, go party, right? That's cool, but like it might not end up being that good for you in the long run. When I use this, when I smoke, when I use shrooms, etc., there's always an intention when these things are being done. It's not just used so I can party and feel good. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with partying and feeling good. I'm not trying to do that. But when any of these substances are just used so that you can escape, that's where it can be really dangerous. Because then when you're perpetually trying to escape your reality with a substance, that can lead to a form of addiction. And then you're like, kratom fucked me up. Yeah, it might have not been the kratom. It might have been you.
I liked a lot of what Paul Saladino was saying on yesterday's podcast when he was talking about alcohol. And, Paul can talk, a lot about plastics in our food and, mainly eating meat and fruit. And he can get dogmatic here and there about certain topics. But when it came to alcohol, he kind of will lay it out to you and say, look, there's not really a lot of room for this. It's toxic, however, like, we've been using alcohol for a really long time, really long time. And people enjoy it. People like it. People dig it. But his main point, I really liked it. It was, you don't necessarily need that to have a good time. You don't need that to go and act and to be, to have fun socially. Like, don't use it as a crutch that way. And I don't want to place judgment on people that drink, but I have seen in a lot of cases with people that drink often, that they don't get a lot of the stuff done that they want to get done, and they kind of continue to sweep things under the rug, and they kind of keep choosing that lifestyle. Now, you could say the same thing sometimes with marijuana. Because it like freezes people, right? Like, if they're getting blasted all the time, then they're not going to get around to the shit that they need to do. So abusing some of these substances is where you really get yourself into a lot of trouble. And we see the same thing with anabolic steroids, with performance enhancing drugs. Seems like a little bit does some pretty cool stuff for a lot of people. It doesn't appear like there's a lot of negative side effects. It looks like the risk to reward can be identified by each individual person on what they feel would be best for them, and whether they think that leap into that realm would be a good idea or not. But man, when you abuse them, like, we got a lot of dead bodybuilders, right? We got a lot of people that have died very young, and we could say, well, people just, sometimes people just die. But there's like a lot of bodybuilders that have died, especially recently, where you're just like, something's going on. There's something that's unsafe about being 300 pounds and being completely jacked and abusing some of these drugs. So trying to utilize these things in a sensible way, whether it's kratom, whether it's caffeine. I mean, we do it all the time. We're like, man, I think I need to back off. I had 3 monsters the last 3 days in a row. Like, I think I need to back it off a bit.
Yeah.
Because I also had a caveman coffee on the way in, and
it's 300 milligrams.
You know what I mean? And luckily for us, like, we like our routine, and all 3 of us are kind of homebodies. Like, we're really a bunch of pussies, the 3 of us. we don't really like to go anywhere too much, or like, we like our routine, right? And so for us, it actually is great because alcohol, too much of that, or too much caffeine will throw us off our normal routine. And then we're like, I didn't sleep very good yesterday. And we're crying about that, right?
Yeah. I hate getting thrown off the routine.
That's why, that's one thing about alcohol that I could never understand. After I had one, like my first hangover, I was just like, people have these
on a hangover? Fuck that.
Right? Like people have this on a weekly basis. On a weekend. They wake up and they feel like shit and they do it again. What? I mean, I would have thought that was deterrent enough not to drink heavily, but it's not for some people. I'll say that.
I took some painkillers years ago, and like I legitimately needed them. I don't know when it was. I don't know if it's when I fell with 1085 or when it was. It must have been years and years ago because my oldest brother was still alive.
Yeah.
I had something happen where shit fucking hurt bad. I had to go to one of the guys in the gym and be like, dude, I need something because like I can't walk or whatever it was. Took the painkillers for just a couple of days. I told the guy, I'm like, I'm going to get these, like, I just want a couple of them because I need to bridge the gap for a few days. Because I've taken them in the past and it was the same thing. I took like 3 or 4 of them over the course of several days and everything was fine. And I said, don't let me come back for these, that kind of stuff. And so I took them and I remember like the next day being like agitated and being angry. And I told my brother, Mike, I'm like, dude, I'm so pissed. I'm taking this Percocet or I can't remember what it was. Whatever the popular painkiller was at the time. And I was like, it's really making me agitated. He's like, I think it's in our blood. He's like, I think you're an addict just like me. He's like, the only thing that cures that is to do it again. And I was like, that's what happens with alcohol for some people. Like they'll have a hangover and like the solution to the hangover is like, bam, just take another one.
There's a nickname for that. It's
kind of like our thing with caffeine. Like the solution for it is boom, get another one.
Yeah. No, because I know people that I knew someone who was like an alcoholic and like her thing was like, yeah, I got to drink a little bit more so I'm not, I don't have this hangover. I'm like, you sure you want to? Okay. All right. But you don't have a problem? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I just got to get through this bottle.
And then we're all good.
Actually, I have a case in the cellar too. I need to get rid of these. But once I'm through those, then I'm going to be all good to go.
You're not an alcoholic. You're not. Sure.
In terms of safety, like some of these drugs, like if you watch, I think it was Magic Mushroom. I can't remember the name of the movie, but there was a movie specifically on mushrooms, and they talked about the safety of mushrooms. And look, you can overdo anything, and like you can reference people, and you can be like, yeah, that guy, like somewhere along the line, that guy lost his mind. I don't know if he did too many psychedelics or if he did too many mushrooms or too much LSD or smoked too much. We know guys that smoke too much pot, and you're like, that guy ain't all there anymore, man. Like he was fine. He was high a little bit here and there, and now now he seems fucked, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that happen to people, and so you do need to be cautious. But what they said in the Magic Mushroom movie was, there's no instance of somebody taking this and like dying from it. But I don't want that to be like the marker of like that it's not dangerous, because like death is a pretty big thing. When it comes to Kratom, the only deaths I'm aware of that have happened directly from it, which is always a tough thing to prove, is from people taking the powder and they were trying to dry scoop the powder, which you can't do because it's not water soluble. It's like cinnamon, like that shit. Like it. So people would take it and they coughed and choked and died that way. So that's definitely something that you don't want to mess with. The reason why I talked about being high is because I don't necessarily view being high as being a bad thing. So like I just, that's up to each person's interpretation. Again, you can kind of, is that helpful? Is it hurtful to you in your personal life to be a little bit high here and there? Maybe it's detrimental. Maybe you're a doctor. Maybe you're not in a position to like ever fuck with that stuff. Yeah. Except for maybe when you have some downtime or something like that. So those are all things to kind of think about. But Kratom it's in a category of opioids. So it's important to know, like, it can be really powerful. Now, I would say that opioids, like, I feel like I have a fairly open mind. So I think that cocaine, from a cocaine leaf, I think was put on this earth for a reason. I think that these things are here for a reason. I think they're plant medicines. And I would put mushrooms in the same category as caffeine when it comes to that. However, we have fucked everything up in this world.
That's what we do.
Poppy seeds and stuff like that, opioids, where they come from. I might be misspeaking on some of this since I don't know all the information on it, but I think that these things are here for a reason. I think they can be really helpful. Like, have people used opioids responsibly in the past, hundreds of years ago? Have Native Americans done that? Have other people, other cultures probably done that? Probably so.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably like, yeah, man, I chew on these leaves and it made me feel great. I was able to get all this work done. I was able to kill a buffalo, and I was able to do all these things. And so I think a lot of these things are great, but we have adulterated everything. We have kind of ruined everything by making things by making things way stronger, by making things for monetary gain. A lot of the Kratom products that are out there, you don't know what's in them. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people are putting like a lot of caffeine in them to give you a different kind of boost. Yeah. They might even be putting other stuff in there to give you a kind of boost. In talking to some people that I know in the industry, they're like, yeah, man, the supplement industry alone can be really fucked up. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can go on Amazon and buy something and try to get a reputable company. You can order something that's bottled and looks the same as the company that you're going for. Let's say you're going for something from like Jarrow or something like that, like a company where you're like, yeah, they've been around a long time. Like, that's pretty reputable. Yeah. There's people that are ripping that shit off.
Like using the tag and
using everything. It looks exactly the same. They can't be busted fast enough. Mm-hmm. So you don't know what you're getting. Most likely there's probably not anything dangerous in there. Mm-hmm. But you're not getting what you wanted. You're not getting what you asked for.
Yeah. That's an iffy thing. When you were talking about like these, like even the cocaine leaf, if it was called the cocaine leaf, what I think is a dangerous thought. Years ago, when I smoked weed the first few times, there was this thought that popped into my head where I'm like, wow, if only I could think like this all the time. Mm. You know how cool things would be if you could just think like this all the time? And then for about a few weeks, I was just smoking a little bit every day. And I was like, this isn't good for me. This is very bad for me. I need to taper this back. I need to use this as something to like, because what it had helped me with was to be more open, to loosen up a little bit, because I'm kind of a tight ass dude, right? I'm a little bit rigid. It helped me not be as rigid. And I took that into my normal day to day when not on the substance. I think that's how like we should, first off, if you ever have the thought of like, I wish I could be like this all the time, understand that thought. That's cool. Now, don't use that thought as an excuse to start doing this all the time, perpetually, because you don't want it to be that now when you're not on substances, you don't feel like you're good enough. Just like Paul was saying when we were podcasting with him, like a lot of times when people drink, it's like it's social lubricant. It's something that you feel better when you're a little tipsy, right? You feel like you can talk with people better, right? But you should want to be able to do that without anything. You should be good enough with who you are. And these substances can help you do that a bit when you're on them, but then you can literally take that, and when you're not on this, you can still be that same person, right? It's dangerous to go down the rabbit hole of like, I'm a better me when I'm smoking weed, or I'm a better me when I'm using Kratom. You're not a better you, right? You're just using something that's helping you think in a little bit of a different way. Now take that thought process and have that be something you do in your daily life.
I love it. For me personally, I usually take about a third of the Mind Bullet potion, and you'll see them. They're all over Super Training. They're all over my car. They're everywhere. Where I got little things of them like left over.
I've taken some of your leftovers before. I've gone to the gym and like, okay,
they're just sitting around. Because again, I haven't noticed a huge difference off of taking a lot of it, other than just being like kind of high and loopy. And I'm like, that's like, I don't need to be sent off into outer space. Yeah. It's nice to be up in the clouds and get a different vantage point for things, but I don't need to go to fucking Mars, you know? So, I try to take it in what I would consider for me to be a reasonable dose. Keep in mind, I have been doing it for a few years. In terms of negative side effects, I have not seen a negative side effect in any blood work that I've had. However, my blood work might be like this or that from a handful of things. You know, I have been using testosterone for quite some time, and so some of that might alter things. Some of the things I do with my diet might alter things. So it's kind of hard to tell, like, did anything specifically come from the usage of Kratom? I haven't noticed like erratic breathing. You know, I utilize Kratom a lot before I go and run. I haven't noticed anything with that. In terms of like heart rate, I don't really track my heart rate a lot, and certainly not very accurately, because if I do, it's only through the watch. I don't have like the heart rate monitor chest piece on, which can be about 10 beats different sometimes. But I haven't like looked at like a run and been like, oh my God, like it was, you know, considerably, you know, off. It was like 180 when normally my heart rate is like, you know, 150 or something like that. So I personally haven't noticed anything like that, but you've noticed some differences in your heart rate variability, right?
Yeah. So the thing is like before podcasts, my habit was literally to down a full potion. Right. And that was like 3 or 4 times a week. I would down a full potion. Again, I did have instances where I wasn't using it or using Kratom at all, and I was good. So it's not like I felt like I needed Kratom, but I would use a full potion. So when I started wearing my Oura Ring, it tracks your HRV perpetually. And there was a few times where we weren't podcasting at all. So I wasn't using any Kratom. And when I was using Kratom, or not Kratom specifically, but when I was downing a full potion, on those nights, I would have low HRV, and you don't want a low HRV. That's a sign that you're not as recovered, apparently. So my HRV was like 20 to 30. And I was
want
like
a higher, right?
You want a higher HRV. You want it to be like 60 to 100 or potentially more. And I was like, damn, I feel fine, but why is my HRV low? So, and I noticed like when we weren't podcasting, like when you would go on vacation or whatever, and I wasn't using it, my HRV would pop up. I was like, okay, let me test this out. So another day I downed a potion. That night I had a low HRV, even though I didn't work out and I was well recovered. So I was like, okay, I lowered the dosage of the amount of potion I was using. So now I only do like a 1/4 to a 1/3. Okay. And I've been good, but that's because you keep the dosage low. At least that's what happened for me.
What
with
is
my
HRV? Can you explain it a little bit?
Heart rate variability is the millisecond beat, like your heart beats, but it's the milliseconds from beat to beat, right? So if your HRV is low, what it's a sign of is that you are in a more sympathetic state, meaning that you could be calm, but if something happens, you're more likely to be on edge at something happening. And if you have a higher HRV, you're more likely to be able to handle stress and come right back to normal quicker. That's what they've noticed with heart rate variability. So you want your heart rate variability to be high. It's also a sign like the Oura Ring, the 8 Sleep mattress. If your HRV is low, it could be a sign that you need to maybe rest a little bit today or not work out as hard.
Is it measuring from like one heartbeat to the next, or is it measuring like kind of your highest heart rate of the day and your lowest heart rate of the day?
One heart rate to the next, because when I look at how it tracks on the Oura Ring, it's like perpetually tracking your HRV every single hour. So it's literally the millisecond average from beat to beat. So you don't want to have a 20 HRV or a 30 HRV. Apparently that's a sign that you need to rest a little bit more, because you want a few more spaces or millisecond spaces between beat to beat.
I understand. Like if you didn't sleep, like if you just didn't sleep at all, your reaction to something would be you're gonna register being more stressed.
If you get bad rest, if you get bad sleep, you're gonna have low HRV.
Right.
If you work out really, really, really hard and you don't give yourself enough, like you don't give yourself recovery well for the next day, it's low HRV is a sign that you need to recover, right? But I was noticing that even on days I wasn't, but if I did too much of this, my HRV would be low. So that's why I used to do full potions. Now the potion takes me like 3 days to finish if I'm going to do a potion. And I like them. I like the way this feels. And this lasts a little bit longer. The capsules don't last longer, but I feel it.
They take a little longer to hit. For me, yeah.
The potions hit you faster, but I do a 1/3 and I'm good now. So that's the thing. It's like, I didn't even realize that it was too much. I felt fine. I didn't feel anything too wild, but I'm doing a third of a potion now whenever I take it.
And the capsules can be fairly safe because you can like literally divvy out the exact amount that you want.
Yeah.
You can just you can be like, I'm gonna take one now, and if I feel like I need more later, I can do it later. And sometimes you don't, and sometimes maybe you feel like you do.
Yeah. No, my ex, like she, like one capsule for her, she'd feel it. So this is one thing you got to realize, like some people, you'll feel it more than other people. I don't really feel much one capsule. I'll usually take 3 capsules and then I feel it and it's good.
And in terms of tolerance, I've had a lot of questions about that as well. And people are like, oh, I don't want to get into a thing where I need to take more and more. I don't know what's true and what's not true. It's hard because people they don't specifically research Kratom.
Yeah.
In my experience, I haven't noticed a need for more and more of it. So if people are experiencing that, that could be an individual thing. It also could just be your mind that's kind of telling you you need more and more of it. I personally haven't noticed that.
I agree with you because I've been using Kratom for years now, and I haven't, I used to use potions years ago too.
We would be using a lot at this point. We've been using it for a long time.
Yeah,
right?
I'm using it for years, and if my tolerance was going up, I'd be having to down 2 potions before a podcast. But the funny thing is, like, because again, I would down a potion before, it always feels the same. It never felt like, oh, this doesn't hit the same. It always hit the same. And again, this is anecdotal. This is me. You feel the same thing. There might be some people out there who feel like they need more or feel like they build a tolerance. I haven't felt that, which is a very interesting thing because you build a tolerance with caffeine, right? You build so
I would say that if you take it and you don't feel anything, that's a good start.
Yes.
Like some people are like, oh man, I took it and I didn't feel anything. Like actually, that's great. You're like, oh, I took 2 capsules. I didn't feel much. That's a great place to start. You want to feel something? Try 3 capsules. Also, I think sometimes if you take it pre-workout, you might have to pay attention to when you took it. For me, like Kratom doesn't normally really hit me until about like 20, 30 minutes. Even the potion takes about 15, 20 minutes for it to actually hit me, and I'll be on a walk and I'll be like, what is that? And I'll be like, oh, that's Kratom. There we go. I'm going to text Andrew and Nsima. Fuck with them, see what's up.
And again, the only way you can describe it, man, is just like a better mood. That's all. It's not, it's not, it doesn't feel like a drug because you're just not better mood. With alcohol, you start to feel like, you start to feel a little
mushrooms
loopy.
is a literal trip. You're like, oh,
high dose mushrooms. Yeah.
Here
that's a trip.
we go.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck.
Strap in because it's going to be a ride.
Yeah. Put your helmet on.
The visuals start to happen. Things start. You're like, we're here. We've arrived. So
That's awesome.
Works really good for fasting too. We've mentioned that on the show before, but it does, for me, it's made fasting a lot easier. I think other people will find it will do the same for them. Want to take us on out of here, Andrew?
Sure thing.
Tell them where they can get some Mind Bullet.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. If you guys want to dip your toe into some Mind Bullet, head over to mindbullet.com and at checkout enter promo code PowerProject to save a certain amount of money. I forgot.
Don't dip your toe in. Dip your whole taint in that shit. Let's go.
No.
Dip your whole taint in that shit. Let's go.
Whole taint in a quarter of a potion.
Yes,
just to be safe.
Have you ever tried pouring down your ass? Like maybe grab a spigot and pour some potion down your ass? Yeah.
And then drink it?
But
no, literally just butt chug it. Like, you know how people do that?
With beer?
Of my own butt? Like, try to,
like
pour it and...
Here, put a spigot, then pour a potion down there.
Yeah, I could figure that out.
Yeah. I wonder if it hit you faster.
It would fuck you up probably.
Yeah. Aren't there certain drugs that they hit you faster if you take them through the ass?
Yeah, there's like the blood-brain barrier or some shit like that. It just gets in your bloodstream way quicker because...
The butthole brain barrier.
Yeah. You're, no, that didn't sound right. You're, it doesn't have to go through your system to get into your system.
I think if I took the cap off of this and put it on my asshole, yeah, that would work great. And then I have to do a handstand on the wall.
Just shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, I do that little twerk that the girls do, right?
We're gonna come into the gym and Mark's just gonna be practicing his handstands the whole time. Like, just like, Mark, you're really, I'm gonna conquer this handstand push-up shit. It's like, really, it's because. Yeah.
And then he starts doing handstand push-ups. You're like, what the fuck? What happened to you, Mark? It's that Mind Bullet in the ass.
Works every time. All right. Anyway, please drop us some comments down below and like today's video and subscribe if you guys are not subscribed right here on the YouTubes. And if you're on the iTunes side, we'd sincerely appreciate some reviews. We would really be grateful for that. But yeah, and please follow the podcast at MB Power Project on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where you at?
I think I cut Andrew off before he was able to give the code.
Power Project.
Code Power Project. It's
Save
in the
money.
description and everything else. But join the Discord. We're almost at 2,000 people in there and counting. So join there. And like Andrew said, hey, yo, leave some reviews on Spotify and Apple if you guys are digging the podcast, because we have been climbing these charts like Tarzan. Is Tarzan swinging? No, climbing monkey.
He swings.
Hey, yo, we've been climbing these charts, and those reviews help. All you guys
like
are
King Kong because he climbs up.
That's racist. No, I'm joking. How could it be racist? It's only racist if you think of it like that.
Oh,
it's not racist.
He's
a monkey.
and
At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube. At Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark.
Is King Kong a monkey?
He's a gorilla.
He's a gorilla, right? Is that a different category?
is it an ape? Isn't it?
What did you just call me?
It's like no. Well, you were looking at me when you said it.
You weren't looking at Mark when you said it.
I wasn't. This is true.
I want to give a shout out to my son, Jake, just for being awesome. He's a really interesting kid. He took his Bronco that me and his mommy bought him.
Yeah.
Rich kid car. And he traded it in and got like I don't even know what the hell it is. He got like a Honda. He just wanted to chill, just like normal. I'm fucking 18. I don't have a lot of money kind of car. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And not only did he do that, but he traded it in for 2 cars and got a car for his uncle.
Whoa!
Dude, that's
Holy
fucking awesome.
shit!
It's like, what the fuck?
Who
That's fucking
does
awesome.
that?
Because his uncle's going to be traveling a little bit more because he got a different job. So he's got to commute more. So he needs like a commuter car. And I was just like, who the fuck are you? Get out of my house.
I didn't raise you like this.
Yeah, you're supposed to be a scumbag.
You're all selfish. and
supposed to be
shit.
mean to people. We're rich, goddammit.
What the fuck?
Good shit, man.
I know. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know where he gets it from. Awesome kid. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.